recording. We are officially at 12:30, so this is the go time. At the conclusion of the class, I will convert the recording into a YouTube video, and then it will get posted under the announcements in the class. So if you missed something, if you miss a day, you can always go back to the announcements and find the videos. So today, we start with kind of the intro. I'm not going to go through all of this stuff because most of the syllabus, WebWork, modules, all of those things I sent out in a video. So hopefully you check your email. I recommend you check your email, a couple times a week because I will send things out via email. I also send a lot of things out via, what's the word I'm looking for? Announcements. So that's what I start with. So in the course, this is from my view. Obviously, yours probably looks a little bit differently, but the announcements might become your best friend, and I want to make sure that you're aware of this. So, the first announcement that I posted yesterday was kind of just a, here you go. Don't forget to watch the videos. Kind of probably the most boring announcement I'm going to put up. But some of you have already gotten into WebWork, and so the orientation, I think I sent that information out via email. So orientation number 6 is a beast. It shows up for some people, but not for everybody. So I sent an email of the answer to orientation number 6. So if you haven't checked your email, the answer for number 6 is in there. And then you'll notice that videos for section 2, there are people who are already there. Section 2, number 18 and 19 can be tricky. So I posted videos they're kind of like help videos to get you through those two. So at any point in time, if you're like, man, I'm stuck on something, you totally should email me. Totally. And then generally, like the first time somebody emailed me about number 18 yesterday, I posted those videos. So I'm like, if one person needs it, more people are going to. So it might be helpful if you check the announcements first. It might save you time, is what I'm saying. Check the announcements first. See if I posted a video to help whatever it is you're asking about. And if I didn't, shoot me an email, because if you have it and I have a video, I will then post in the announcement for everybody else. And if it's in the announcements and you still email me, I'll just shoot you back an email that says, hey, I posted it in the announcements, check it out there. I don't get mad about that. It's totally cool. Just having it in one spot saves me from having to constantly retype that email 400 times. So it's really a time-saving thing for me. All right, so check the announcements. That's where I will post all of the extra videos. I make all of the videos for this course statewide, so I have a ton that are not built into the course. They're on my YouTube page. You can always go to my YouTube page and search for them, but there they are. So hopefully by now you are all in WebWork. If you are not in WebWork yet, you need to get yourself in there, because if we have any issues, we need to get those taken care of sooner rather than later. So there's your WebWork, your discussion board. 15 of you have already turned in your discussion board. That's due on the 8th, which I think is Friday. High five to you guys for getting going. That's fabulous. We're definitely working well. If you haven't been in your modules, the nice thing about the modules, and this is the first semester we've done it this way, these videos, the videos section 1, section 2, and they're all throughout. These are the videos that go with your book. So that workbook that you received in the mail, these are the videos that will work you through the material. They lead up to the WebWork assignments, okay? And also in WebWork, I know this is in the video, but the videos are also loaded into WebWork, so you have those there. Video lessons 080, those are just extra videos for anything that you might need help with, okay? So the last thing, the calendar. The summer is brutal. 8 weeks goes quickly. It's nice outside. I understand you'd rather be doing anything but math, but here's the deal. I'm teaching 2 classes this summer, so you can see the purple and the green contrast of when everything is due. You've got a lot of stuff due in this class, and not all of it is going to be difficult, but it's all going to be a little bit time consuming. So keeping up on things, knowing what's coming, knowing what's due, that is definitely going to be beneficial to you. Okay, so at any point in time, we want to make sure that we're paying attention. So for like you guys, your discussion board is due on Friday, your orientation, WebWork 2, and your first quiz. But there's nothing that says you have to wait until Friday. A lot of you have already been working through that. Get through it. turn it in, and then move on to the next stuff that's due on Monday, right? We have quick turnarounds. And I don't want to make everything due at the end of week and have you do 5 homework assignments on Friday, because some of you are procrastinators and will wait till Friday to start, and then you're going to be in trouble. So I try to spread out the due dates so that you're forced to work a little more often, but it's going to make your life a little bit better in the long run. So don't hate me yet, okay? But stay up on things. You're allowed to work ahead. Last summer, I actually had somebody finish in 6 weeks because they worked ahead. You can take everything is open. I haven't turned in the exam stuff yet, but everything is open and ready for you. So does anybody have any questions on Ivy Learn, WebWork, the synchronous session that we are in now? Thank you for finding it. Did anybody have any questions on any of this business? You can either talk verbally or you can type in the chat box when we have question time. Whatever works for you is best.
Hi, Becky. This is Rachel.
Yeah.
I have a question, but it's more about one of the problems in the WebWork for the first module. Is that okay if I ask it?
Sure.
I'm having a problem with it's WebWork 2, the problem 8. It's talking about a model car has a scale factor of 164.
This one, right?
Yes, that one.
Okay. Now,
I don't know how to figure it out.
One thing that I want to throw out while we're talking about WebWork is that WebWork is okay. Some of this background is. I'm going to start muting people that haven't muted themselves. Okay, so WebWork will have different numbers for different people. Okay, so everybody's problem 8 is going to look similar to this, but it's not going to be exact. The basic thing is this in this problem. So for every the model car scale factor of 1 to 6. Let me get a marker. Here we go. So basically, this top represents the model, and the bottom represents the actual car. So if you think about the model is basically, this is kind of a proportion problem, which we don't really get to till section 5. But if you think about this, the diameter of a tile in the model is 0.39. Okay, so if you think about from the model, what do you multiply 1 by to get 0.39? Well, we just multiply by 0.39. So you would do the same thing in the denominator as multiply by 0.39. So your answer should work that if you multiply 64 by in this particular problem, your numbers might be different in your WebWork, but that's kind of the concept. If you would multiply 64 by 0.39, that should give you the correct answer. One thing to point out, it does say must be correct to 1 decimal place. So make sure you're rounding correctly as well. WebWork is a stickler. So if it tells you to round to a certain place and you are off by 1/10, it'll go. How do we know if 0.39 is on the top or the bottom? Well, if you think just through the model, okay, so it says the model car has a scale factor of 1 to 64. We know that an actual car is bigger than a model, right? I mean, that's just kind of like thinking through that. So therefore, I know that the actual has to be 64 because the actual has to be bigger than the model. So the 64 represents the actual, the model has to be the smaller number, right? Just kind of thinking through the size of cars. So then on the bottom, it says the diameter of tile on the model. So thinking about consistency. If the model is represented by the 1 in the numerator, then the 0.39 also has to be on the top because that's where all of the models are represented. All of the actual cars are represented in the bottom. Does that make sense? Okay, good. Okay. And that's how you do it. So you might have a different number here. You might have a different scale in your particular problem, but that's kind of the overarching how you get there. So Rachel, does that make sense to you? Good. Okay. Okay, I'm going to unmute the people that I muted. Hopefully you can mute yourselves, because if I mute you, you can't talk. So I like you to mute yourself so that you have the ability then to talk when you need to. Okay, and this is kind of how this session will go. We will talk about any problems that you have as much as you want. That's kind of how we go. Jamaica, I got your message. If you don't have your book yet, I've gotten that email. I will send you an email with a phone number, so you have to call them, and they might have a wrong address for you, or it might have just gotten, they're sending books out to everybody in the state. So I will send you that book info as soon as we get out of class, and you just got to call that number and they'll get you a book. Yep. Good. Any other questions about, it could be about homework, it can be about anything. We will always start with questions. So if you have them, I mean, you obviously can email it. You guys are doing a great job of sending emails with questions, which is fabulous. I've tried to respond to them in a timely manner. I hope I'm doing that okay. I think I'm caught up on everybody's emails. So
I had a question. I don't remember exactly what the problem was. I just wasn't sure how to get the answer. It was the one about which was a better deal at the grocery store for the soap.
I know what problem you're talking about, but I cannot for the life of me think that's in a ratio section, that is not section 2, is it?
I
Okay.
want to say, yeah, I don't know. Sorry.
That's okay. Better deal for a soap. Let's just get ourselves a blank screen here. How do I get myself a new slide? There we go. And I can make one up. This is part of my skill set. Okay, if you're looking for a better deal, so let's say you're going to buy some laundry detergent, right? And you can buy 50 ounces for $6.89, or you can buy 150 ounces for $15.50. Which one of these is the better deal? Now, the basic idea of this is we want to do a comparison, but you can't compare. Right now, we're in two different units, right? We're in 150 ounces, we're in 50 ounces. We need those two numbers to kind of be the same in order to really be able to compare. So we want to compare price per ounce for each one of these. And by doing that, we can say, okay, the price for the first one was $6.89, and that was for 50 ounces. So if you divide, right, numerator divided by the denominator, so 6.89 divided by 50, that will give us a price per ounce for that first one. So do you all have calculators with you? Because sometimes I will make you do math. So can anybody take, because I don't know what this answer is. I guess I could get my calculator out.
It's 0.1378.
Okay, so roughly 14 cents per ounce. All right, so then the other one. The other one is $15.50 for 150 ounces. Okay, so we divide those.
I got 0.1033333333.
Okay, we'll stop there. So roughly 10 cents per ounce. All right, so if you're talking about the better buy is the cheapest per ounce, right? The overall cheapest. Well, if you look at these, the 50-ounce bottle is roughly 14 cents an ounce, whereas the 151 is 10 cents an ounce. So which one is cheaper? Well, 10 cents per ounce is cheaper. So overall, the 150 ounce is the better buy because you're paying less per ounce. So that's kind of, you're doing the comparison of the two ratios is the whole purpose of this. Yeah. And if you go grocery shopping, so you go to Meijer, you go to Walmart, you go, well, I don't know if Aldi doesn't really have comparison stuff. But if you go to Walmart or Meijer, Kroger, and they have multiple sizes of the same thing, if you look at the little sticker where it has their price underneath them, a lot of them will have unit price, which is what this is. The price per ounce or the price per whatever they're dealing with. And so that you can do comparison of what's the better deal. Yeah. If you've never looked at it, it's kind of interesting. Oh.
Thank you. That was just driving me nuts because I found the answer, but I couldn't figure out how I did that.
Like how to mathematically do it. Yeah. Okay, Jacob, that was this question was section 2, question 7. Awesome. Thank you. Okay, so just for reference, that's section 2, number 7, in case anybody hasn't gotten there yet. That gives you a reference of kind of how to tackle that. Good. Thank you for that. Good. All right. And if I mispronounce your name or you want to be called something else, right, you just got to let me know because it's, you know, struggle is real. All right. So far, so good. Did you all watch the videos that I sent? Because, you know, I don't make those for my health, and I think they're beneficial.
I have watched all the videos you sent out.
Good, 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 good. And going up on that, you are probably going to get to problems or sections or something where something troubles you and there might not be a video. So like when we talk, darn it, I need my pointer. There it is. Okay, so we go back to WebWork. Not every WebWork problem has a video, right? As you noticed in number 8, there's no video for that one. If you are stuck, you've tried it a couple times, you cannot figure it out, and it's not, you know, Monday, because then we have, you know, the Tuesday session. But let's say you're working on Wednesday and you get stuck. You don't have time to wait 6 days to ask in the live session. You just don't have it. If you send me an email and say, this is the problem I'm working on, can you make me a video? You know, usually I can make a help video and send it out. It'll take me 20 minutes. So if you need those at times, just all you have to do is ask. And if I'm, for some reason, I don't have, I just need my iPad. If I'm somewhere and I don't have my iPad, I will tell you that, hey, I don't have my iPad. I can't do it for this long. But I'm constantly emailing on my phone. I mean, if you need help, all you have to do is ask. I mean, there's really no excuse for not getting help in this class because I will help you do whatever you need. You just got to ask. Okay. All right. Right. What else? Anything else? This is good. Usually people don't ask questions, so this is fabulous. Yeah, this is great. And one other thing that I want to throw out. Let's say that it's a Thursday afternoon and you're working on homework and you're really stuck on a particular concept. I'm at home on Thursdays. I don't work Thursdays this summer. But that doesn't mean I'm going to be busy, right? Because what am I going to do? So if you email me and you're like, hey, I'm working on stuff and I'm stuck, there is a chance I may email you back and say, do you have time right now? I can send you a link to like a GoToMeeting like this right here, and we can work one-on-one in live time on problems where we can both write on the screen. So don't be afraid to ask for those kind of things, because if I'm not busy, I am more than willing to help you. It's not an issue. Because the better you do in this class, the easier my life is, right? So I want you to do well. So, okay. Yep. All you just got to ask. You just got to ask. And if you want to plan something like, hey, I'm really struggling this week, can we plan something for 5 o'clock tonight? Yes. And if we plan it in the future, I will send out an announcement to everybody and say, hey, here's the link to tonight's, you know, optional session. They're all optional, really. And you can go from there. Jamaica, what do you mean you can't log in? What are you trying to log into? Your WebWork stuff was weird because of the way your name came up. So I'm guessing you're talking about WebWork. I will email you your username and password. Yeah. For some reason, your name was coming up weird on my system. So I will email you what your username and password is as soon as we get out of class. Yeah. I'll blow up your inbox when this is over with all kinds of emails. It'll be great. No problem. No problem. And that's why I want everybody to make sure you just get into WebWork. When you start doing your homework is on you, but I want to make sure you can get into the system, because I hand type everybody's names in, and all I got to do is, you know, put an L instead of a P, and all of a sudden nothing works. So make sure that you can get in, and if you can't, let me know and we'll troubleshoot that. Okay. All right. I feel good. I feel good about things. How are you guys feeling? Good? Wonderful? Stressed? Hopefully you're not stressed yet. Plenty of time for that to come later. All right. So let's kind of talk through what we're going to do. We are not going to have time for me to go through all of my presentations like I normally do in a normal semester. We're just not going to have time, especially if you guys are going to be fabulous and ask questions. Then we're really not going to have time. So the one thing that I recommend is that you do watch all of the videos, right? So if you watch the videos that go with the packet, you're going to get all of the mathematical information that I would tell you, right? Because that's me teaching the course, basically. So in terms of this PowerPoint, that's not what I want to do. Every module has a goal, right? The first module is the first 2 sections. You get into ratios. Some of you have already like almost done with, or maybe you are done with section 2. So we're gonna have a discussion board pretty much every week. You've got a quiz. Get up on that. So we're gonna go through some questions. We're gonna do some math. I will ask questions. I will ask that you participate, that you have paper in front of you. You have your calculator, you type in the chat box, you respond verbally, everything what you've been doing so far, because I think that will really help the session if you are actively engaged. You are not penalized for not being here, so if you miss a day, that's fine. We will be talking about exams at the end of today's session, because I think that's important that we start talking about those early and get those questions out. But I do want to at least get into a little bit of math. So section 1 is quantitative reasoning. I'm not covering anything on section 1 in this session. And in ratios, I'm going to kind of breeze through this as well, because I think for the most part, you guys have the idea of ratios down. But the one thing that I do want to talk about is age dependency ratios, because this is the part of section 2 that generally trips people up. And so in general, and if you're not there yet, that's fine, but I think this is where questions 18 and 19 get there. Dependency ratios discuss a basic idea of having dependents compared to the working class. And this is talking about in terms of like the economy. But think about real life, right? I'm sure some of you have children, or at least you know people who have kids, right? So this is how I relate it. I'm single. I do not have any kids. I don't have any pets. When I go home to my house, it is just me and the spiders on the walls, right? That is it. And I don't feed them. So I have free money, right? I can buy new shoes whenever I want because my only dependent is me. I take care of me and the money goes to me, and that's it. And then I have friends that live down the street who have an 18-month-old. They don't have any money, right? They both work, but they're buying crap for that kid all the time. They got to feed it. It poops, right? They got to buy diapers. They're constantly, new shoes because that kid, new clothes because that kid keeps growing. It's like a weed, right? So their money goes into their dependent. So the people, if you have a ton of kids, you definitely don't have any money because you got to feed those dang things, right? They're money suckers. I love kids, by the way, but this is a great example. So the same concept here is that thank you for backing me up. So we're talking about dependents. Dependents are anybody who is not supplying for themselves, right? Could be kids, could be old people, right? I'm dreading the days that my parents become a drain on me financially, right? So we have the dependents, and we're always comparing to the working class. The working class are those that are actually, working, paying into Social Security, all that fun stuff. So these are part-to-part ratios. And if you've already watched the videos, that makes sense to you because they're both part of the overall population in the world. By definition, children are aged 0 to 14. That is a definition in terms of the economy and how we talk about dependence. I was a dependent on my parents until I was 18 and I went to college. I did not work in high school. They made a deal that if I played sports and I was in activity, I didn't have to work. And I'm like, I will join everything so I don't have to get a job, right? So, but in general, you're a kid till you're 14. And once you turn 15, you are officially part of the working population. So the working population is set 15 to 64. So that's who we talk about as being the workers. Old age dependency. Well, if the workers end at 64, that means the old people start at 65. So anybody older than 65 is considered old. And that dependency ratio compares, again, to the working class. Age dependency is all dependents. So that's the children, the 0 to 14-year-olds, plus the old people that are 65 and above. And again, we're still comparing to the working class. So when you get to question, I don't know if it's 18 or 19, one of them, they talk about which sentences are true. The dependency ratios always compare to the working class. They do not compare to the total population. That's a huge difference. So the working class is always the comparison group for dependency ratios. All right. This is kind of a economics thing too. All right. So we're going to go ahead and do one example of this, and I don't even know if we're going to do the whole thing. But generally, we have age groups, and I split them up and created things. Little sidebar here. Any mathematical problem we do in this live session is, I call it a Becky special, meaning I made it up from my head. It's not from your homework. It's not from your packet. So don't think, well, if I watch all the packet videos, I'm not going to see anything new. Yeah, all the questions are new. There's no point in seeing them twice. So since the videos already cover the packet, this is all new questions. They might be the same type, but they're going to have different numbers and such. Okay, anyway. So child dependency ratio. I want to give you about a minute. I want to see how many of these ratios you can put together. Just write them as fractions. Child dependency, old age dependency, and then the age dependency. See if you can write them as fractions, and then just hold tight for a minute. Okay, do we have fractions? Why, yes, Becky, we do have fractions. Great! Okay, what is the child dependency ratio? What fraction did you write for the child dependency? You can either talk it or type it.
I have no idea if this is right, but I added all three numbers together and got 1,000. So I put that under 400.
Okay, time out. Somebody is talking and somebody's background is really loud. So, who was talking right there?
I was talking.
Who's I?
Valena.
Okay, thank you. I'm like, Okay, so thank you for talking. Emily, I'm muting you because you're unmuted. Okay, great. Okay, so you added everything together. You know, that's fabulous math. It is not needed for this problem.
Oh, darn it.
Because when you add them all together, that gives you a total, that's your total population. And we don't.
So is that the denominator?
Not for the dependency ratios. It might be a denominator for a different fraction that we want to find, but for the dependency ratios, our denominator is always going to be the working class, which is that 15 to 64.
Okay.
Right? So for the children, we want the children over the workers.
So it'd be 400 over 850.
Exactly. Yes. Part to part ratio. If we throw that total in there, now we have a part to whole ratio. We have a whole different thing. Yes. Okay. Just for fun, how do we change that 400 over 850 to a decimal?
You divide 400 by 850 to make it a decimal.
Excellent. And what do you get when you do that?
0.5.
That's rounded to the nearest tenth. I'll take that. If you went out further, you might get 0.47. Yeah. Good. Dakota, you should not get 0.52. Should be less than that. Whose background is on? I don't know. Okay, so good. Everybody cool with that? What about age? I'm going to skip the old people for now. Let's just go to the age dependency ratio. Remember the
I got.
Oh, go ahead.
I put the 620 over 850. So I added 400 with 220 to get my answer for the 620.
Perfect. Yep. For the age dependency, it's all dependents. So the kids are dependents, the old people are dependents. So you've got the 620 total dependents over the workers. Still a part-to-part ratio. What is that as a decimal?
That would be 0.73.
Very good. Very good. All right. Okay, so age dependency ratios are kind of a new thing, right? Ratios in themselves, you've all dealt with fractions at some point in your life, right? You might not like them. You're going to learn to like them because you're going to do a lot of them. But the age dependency ratios is kind of a new thought process, so I always like to make sure to talk about them at least a little bit. There are multiple videos on age dependency ratios, so feel free to watch more about that. All right. Okay, questions on section 2. Obviously, there's a lot more in section 2 than just age dependency ratios, but due to we're on a shortage of time, and this is an online class, so you are expected to do some stuff on your own. But if you have more questions, we can do definitely more stuff. All right. In that case, that's that one. Let me open my second PowerPoint. Let me hit the right button here. All right, so I think that once we get through section 2, then I think that we really start getting into some more math. The ratios in section 2 kind of like get your feet wet. A couple of those problems, especially 18 and 19, are going to make you want to throw your computer out the window. I don't recommend that. So there you go. Okay, so in a 16-week semester, each one of these module is a week, right? So this generally is week 2 in a 16-week semester. And at this point, in a regular semester, I am frustrated because people don't read my announcements. So I'm not frustrated yet because I haven't really posted anything for you guys. So make sure that you're reading the announcements because I will be posting important things in there. So we're getting into sections 3, 4, and 5. You have another quiz. You will not have a second discussion board, right? Just one discussion board. So we will go through, and we should have time to get through this entire PowerPoint. I've got about 12 more slides. So we will go through these 3 sections. We're all Becky specials. Stop me and ask if you have any questions throughout. If you need anything, if you want more examples of certain things, we can go from there. But there we go. Okay, so section 3 starts with scientific notation. So hopefully at some point you remember scientific notation, or at least you remember hearing about it. Again, it's one of those things that you've probably dealt with at some point, but it might have been 5 years, and who remembers things from 5 years ago? I don't remember what I had yesterday for lunch. So scientific notation, in a nutshell, is a way to write numbers differently. We can write really big numbers or really small numbers with scientific notation, and it makes it easier to deal with. So scientific notation is simply a number multiplied by 10 to another number. All right. Changing colors for effect. What can you tell me about the front number? Anybody remember anything? It should be lower than 10. Yes. Decimal. Yes. It doesn't have to be a decimal. It can be. It definitely needs to be lower than 10, but there needs to be another caveat there. Because like -7 is lower than 10, but that's not going to work. Lower than 10 and greater than
0. Oh, 1.
Yeah, we've got to be between 1 and 10. So it can be 1, just straight up 1, that's fine. But it can't be 10. So basically when you're thinking about it, so I think it was Dakota that put a decimal. But if you have a decimal, let's say 9.4, any decimal, doesn't matter what it is. The number in front of the decimal, you can only have one non-zero number. That's how you know you have scientific notation. If you have one non-zero number in front of that. So that's how we deal with there. And then we have an exponent. The exponent is either going to be positive or it's going to be negative. So the positive represents a big number. Big meaning greater than 10. And negative is a small number, which is less than 1. And we're going to do a couple examples where hopefully you kind of see how this works. But I always think in terms of money. If I would be like, yeah, you could give me that amount of money, that would be a positive exponent. If I'm like, what's the point? Then that's a negative exponent. And you're going to see, I will point that out when we get to those examples. All right. Okay. So a number between 1 and 10 times 10 raised to an exponent, which is just a number. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to convert a standard form number. So standard form is like us normal people. I just call myself normal. That was a slip up. But a normal number into scientific notation. So we have 320,000. If you don't see a decimal point in a number, where does it fall?
At the very end.
At the very end is absolutely right. Okay, so right now our decimal is here. But 320,000 is definitely not between 1 and 10. So where do I want to move my decimal so that it becomes between 1 and 10?
Between the 32.
Yep, between the 3 and the 2, which is exactly what Leo said, right? I don't know, who was talking right there?
Isidoro.
Okay, thank you. Since I have so many people, I can't see everybody's names at one time, so I'm not always sure who's talking, but great. Excellent. Okay, so we want to put the decimal between the 3 and the 2 to give us 3.2 times 10. Okay, first things first. Is the exponent going to be positive or negative? Positive, yeah. And this is where my money thing comes in. If somebody walked up to me and said, I want to give you $320,000 because you're having a good hair day. Yeah, absolutely, I'll take $320,000. So it's positive. We're going to have a positive exponent. So now it becomes a counting game, right? My decimal started here. I want to move it to the green line. So I went 1, 2, 3, 4. It moved 5 places. So my exponent is a 5. Boom. That's kind of the basis. Goes the same in the second one where we're going to convert to standard form. So now I have a decimal, 1.75. My exponent is a positive 4. That means my number is getting bigger. Which direction will I move that decimal point to make my number bigger?
To the right.
To the right, exactly. So I go 4 places to the right. 1, 2, 3, 4. What goes in these last 2 humps? Because the first 2 are the 7 and 5
Zero.
zeros. There we go. So our final answer is 17,500, moving it 4 places to the right. Very good, very good. All right. Go ahead and try these 2. The top one is a little bit trickery, which I did that on purpose, but you should at least be able to do the second one. So try these 2 and then we'll talk about them. All right. Here we go. All right, so Isidoro has got the right idea to start in the first one. However, we are not correct. And Jacob, you're close, but you're not correct either. Okay, so you're going to hopefully watch a video in section 3 that talks about, the beauty of numbers and the millions, billions, trillions, quadrillions, and all that fun stuff. And in that, we know that million represents 6 decimal places. So by thinking about that, this gives us 43.4 times 10 to the 6th, because million means 6. However, what's wrong with this picture?
It's greater than 10.
Exactly. This front piece is greater than 10. So if you just focus on that, we want to change this to scientific notation. So I would move it one place, 4.34. And since I moved it one place, that would be like times 10 to the 1st. Well, don't forget, we still have the times 10 to the 6th to come along to play. So I don't know if you remember your exponential rules from back in the day, but if we have same base and we're multiplying, what do I do to my exponents? You add them. Very good. So our final answer is 4.34 times 10 to the 7th. Don't hate the play, I hate the game. Yeah. So you're gonna have some of those in your homework too, where you've got the words and you've got to play with that. So, write it the way you see it. That's a good first step. Great first step, actually. And then make sure you're paying attention to that first number. It's got to be between 1 and 10. All right, and then I saw a couple people with answers. You're moving it 3 places to the right, and we end up with 3,580. Okay. All right. That was good. Sometimes it's good to be fooled, because then I think you remember more when you get stuff wrong, because then you can fix it and you have a little bit more of a memory about it. All right, super good, super good. Moving on. Hey, that's section 3. That's all I had planned in section 3, so that's not bad. All right, per capita. Does anybody know what per capita means? In an area, maybe you could argue that that's similar, but generally we're going to use other words than that.
It means per person.
Per person, exactly. Capita is just another way of talking about per person. So one thing that I kind of want you to start seeing when you see the word per is to kind of think of that as a division bar. So when you see something per capita, they're talking about whatever it is per person. That sets us up as a ratio, right? We're still building on ratios. This kind of just keeps happening over and over and over and over. All right, so in the second one, if there are 240 TVs in my family and 78 family members, how many TVs per capita? Dakota, we're getting there. That's coming up here in about 3 slides. So you're ahead of us. Okay, yep, hey, no problem. Yeah, I know you're excited. I am too. Yeah. Okay, so how many TVs per capita? Remember, per means fraction bar. So we're talking about TVs, fraction bar, per person. I'm a huge fan of labeling things. You're going to see that as we work through, especially if you watch all the videos. And Leo, I appreciate your about, but we're gonna go farther out. We want decimal places here, people. Yeah, so you guys already have this all figured out, right? TVs go on the top, family members go on the bottom, and we want per person. So that means you want to divide out. And I think if you round to the nearest hundredth, you should get 3.08. At least that's what I have written down. So whoever rounded to 3.07, your name is missing already. I believe you misrounded. Yeah, so you're going to have 3.0769. If you're going to the nearest hundredth, 6 rounds up, so that gives us the 3.08. You're going to have rounding rules in WebWork. You're going to have rounding rules in your quizzes. You're going to have rounding rules on your exams. So you really want to, this obviously doesn't have a rounding rule, but you're going to want to make sure you're paying attention to that. I love the WebWork questions. People are like, I don't know why I'm getting this wrong. I've tried it 45 times. And I'm like, well, your answer's right. You just don't know how to round. Right? It makes people so mad, but it makes me smile because it was such an easy mistake. Right? I know that's cruel of me, but, life happens. Okay, go ahead and try this one. Blue pens per capita. Dakota, the orientation. Are you talking about you just didn't pay attention to the details and so you had issues with that? Is that what you're talking about? Nice. It's the little things in life. All right, so we've got a bunch of answers coming in and they're all fabulous. So let's look at this. We're producing 23 million blue pens. Of course, this is all made up data. And the town has 543 people. 540,000 people. So 23 million over 540,000. Now I understand that you divided, but how did you guys do this? Did you use scientific notation? Did you write it out? What did you do?
I wrote mine out and used the calculator.
Okay, good. That's good. Million is 6. So if you added 6 zeros, that'll work. Did anybody use scientific notation? That works too. One thing that I want to kind of talk through is you can do, in problems like this, you can do like kind of scientific notation, meaning you know that million is 6. So 23 times 10 to the 6th. You might not want to work any harder than that. That's fine. And the bottom one's pretty easy. 5.4 times 10 to the 5th. That's not bad. From there, you could just divide that. It's okay that your numerator is not in scientific notation. If you divide these two numbers, you're going to get, what, 4.26 times 10 to the 1st. Because here we would subtract our exponents, and then you'd move it one place over, and you get 42.6. So you can do, you've got options, and I don't really care how you do it as long as mathematically you're doing it correctly. It's fine with me. So, yeah. All right, good. You guys got per capita. Great. Moving on to the next one. Let's get rid of these roll rings. Okay, so earlier you asked about negative exponents. Here they are. So if you look at this first problem, that's got what? 2, 4, 5 zeros in front of the 2, 3. If somebody offered you that much money, I'd be like, are you kidding? Like, it's not even close to a penny. I mean, I walked over a penny yesterday and didn't pick it up because I was in a hurry. Right? So if I'm not going to even pick up a penny, I'm not going to get excited about, not even close to a penny. So our exponent would be negative. But the same concept applies. Where do I want my decimal point to be? Between the 2 and the 3. Very good. So I want my first number to be 2.3. I know it's going to be negative because it's a super small number. So we're going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Negative 6. Yep. There it is. Now, when you look at the second one, how do you tackle that? What do you do with that?
You would move the decimal to the left 3 spots.
Exactly. And we're going to the left because it's negative. Negative means small number. 1, 2, 3. Don't forget your decimal point at the front. It makes a difference. Sometimes WebWork does get picky, just FYI, about this 0 in front of the decimal point. So if you have a decimal answer and then it's counting you wrong, throw a 0 in the front of it and see if it counts it right, because that's just a coding issue. So something to kind of check with. Yep. All right. Any questions about negative? Concepts are the same. Just got to pay attention. Big number, small number. Big number, small number. Makes a difference. Makes a difference. All right. That's the nutshell of section 4. So this is kind of how we roll through things. We hit the highlights. I kind of make sure you have the overarching ideas of what's happening in a section, but that's about it, right? The big details come down to you when you're watching all the videos at home. So, okay, section 5, which is the last section in this week's business, right? This takes us through Monday's homework is kind of the goal, is proportions. And I have found that proportions are, people love proportions when it comes to solving them, not so much in the setting of them up. So first things first, can any of you tell me how to solve this basic proportion?
You would cross multiply to get 3x times the 24.
You were close,
Okay.
except you said times. But yeah, cross
I
multiplying is
mean,
perfect. Yeah, so when you cross multiply, denominator of one ratio times the numerator of the other. So x times 3 is just 3x. Then comes your equal sign, and then it's your other direction. So 12 times 2 is 24. So yeah, to solve a proportion, we simply cross multiply. What's your second step?
you want to get the x by itself
Yep, how do we get x by itself?
by dividing the 3 on the one side and dividing the 3 on the other.
Exactly. Whatever number's in front of the x, that's what we're going to divide by. Good. And some good answers there in the chat box as well. So we're dividing by 3, so we end up with x equals 8. Right? So that's the basic idea of solving a proportion. And that's usually, people usually don't have any problem with that, right? We review it a couple times. You're like, yeah, I can do that. No problem. Unfortunately for you, proportions in this class come in the form of story problems. So we have to set up the proportions first, and that can get a little bit trickier depending on the topic. So I find it important to really talk about the consistency. You want to be consistent in setting up your proportions. Every proportion can be written like, I don't know, 16 different ways, maybe less, I don't know, but it's multiple. So the way you set up your proportion, the way I set up mine, they don't have to be the same. The key is when we cross multiply, if our cross multiplication is the same, then we're golden. If we both cross multiply and we get different cross multiplication ideas, then one of us is wrong. Or maybe both of us are wrong. It's possible. Okay, so we'll do this one together and then I'll cut you loose on a few. So Sally ran 4 miles to every 3 miles run by Billy. If Billy ran 254 miles in 2016, how many miles did Sally run? So I'm a big fan of labels, right? So I'm comparing Sally to Billy. So, and when I'm talking about a proportion, and proportions, you know, they're comparisons. So if you find that you're comparing two things, that's probably a good idea that you're going to use a proportion. So anything in the numerator of both ratios is going to be related to Sally, and everything in the bottom is related to Billy. So I know that I first have, you know, this is kind of our guide. Sally ran 4 miles to every 3 miles run by Billy. Well, so Sally ran 4 and Billy ran 3. That's the first ratio, 4 to 3. Then it says, if Billy ran 254 miles, how many miles did Sally run? Where does this 254 go? Top or bottom?
Bottom.
Bottom, because everything Billy is in the bottom. You're trying to find Sally, so there's the X. All right. Solve it. Please and thank you.
I already did. Can I give you the answer?
If you could wait 15 seconds, that'd be great.
Will do.
That way everybody has a chance to kind of work through it. Okay. That was probably 15 seconds.
So I got 339 miles that Sally ran.
Sure, if we go to the nearest mile, there it is. Few of you rounded differently in the chat box, and that is totally okay too. Right, with these right here, we're worried more about setup than I am about how we're rounding. So, okay. Questions about how we set it up? How do you know where the numbers go? Anything like that? All right, try this one. I'll give you a minute or two. What would you usually round to? It kind of depends on the problem. If you're dealing with money, you always go to 2 decimal places. If you're talking about miles, you might go to the nearest tenth. It really just depends on the problem. Most problems will have directions with them so that you know what to round to. All right. I need to find a way to figure out when people are done. I haven't figured that out yet. Okay, I want to see a proportion. So can anybody? I think I can. Okay, I gave everybody marker privilege. So if you'd like, you can just write your proportion up on the screen, or you can type it in the chat box, or you can verbally say it and I'll write it. Any of those are okay. Does anybody want to talk?
I did 140 miles over 1.5 inches
Okay.
equal to X over 5.5.
Excellent. So this ratio talks Cleveland to Columbus. This talks about Washington, D.C. to Pittsburgh. The top is miles, the bottom is inches, right? If you set up your proportion and you don't know what your ratios and your number, you don't know what's represented, then that's not a good thing. I'm not saying that you have to write the labels out, but you should be able to tell me by looking at your proportion what things represent what, because that's how you know you're setting them up consistently. All right, good. And then we got an answer in the chat box, which looks to be correct. 513.3 miles from DC to Pittsburgh. Okay. Questions on that one?
I did it kind of similar, but instead of going by miles and inches, I went by Cleveland to Columbus and Washington to Pittsburgh. So I went 140 over X is equal to 1.5 over 5.5.
Yep. Yeah, and the nice thing is, right, if you cross multiply 1.5x, 1.5x, right? And that's the beauty. So that you can set it up whichever, because everybody's brains work differently, right? So you can set it up whichever way your brain makes sense, as long as you could. We could set this up, I think, 8 different ways easily, just by switching around. I mean, we could just flip-flop these two, and that would be a new proportion, right? So, yeah, very good. Yeah. And as long as you know how you're doing it, what makes sense in your head, totally fine. Totally fine.
Sweet.
Yep. All right, good. Okay, so this is one way that proportions can be used, right? To find unknown values. If I know this stuff, I can work it out. I can find the unknown. Well, we can also use it to play what I call the what if game. So, of course, again, made up data. Michigan, the lowly state of Michigan, let's just say this is a fundraiser. Michigan raised $16,500 with 250 people, and the great state of Ohio raised $24,750 with 300 people. This is the actual of what happened in this made-up scenario. By the way, I'm from Ohio, and I hate Michigan. Okay, so if you're a Michigan fan, you may or may not do well in this class. Just kidding, but not really. Okay, so we have actual data. Now look at the question. If Michigan were proportional to Ohio, how much money would they raise? Now, we know what they actually did. We want to find what they could have done if they were proportional to Ohio. Okay, do you see the difference in the question? Some people don't like these because they're like, well, I already know the answer. Well, no. Okay, so we're comparing Michigan to Ohio. And we're talking about money, and we're talking about people. You'll notice that you have all four pieces of information, with the actual information. So the easiest way to get started on this is to figure out what you're trying to find, right? If Michigan were proportional to Ohio, how much money would Michigan raise? So we're trying to find Michigan money, which is the top left. That's the missing piece. We're trying to figure out, based off of Ohio, what should Michigan do? So the rest of the information we pull from our actual data, right? Michigan had 250 people. Ohio raised 24,750, and they had 300 people. Because if Michigan is proportional to Ohio, they need to kind of keep in line with the ratio that Ohio has. Yeah, 20,625 is the correct answer. Leo, how'd you get 19.8? I don't either. Let's go back. Double check your numbers. And it's possible that you typed in a different number. Sometimes that's all it takes. So we're cross multiplying. And my handwriting is bad, so make sure you wrote things down correctly. But we can do a lot with the what if game. The hardest part with that is you're given actual data. And you have to say, okay, forget the data that I'm actually given, and I have to use what I have, not use all of it. So you can see, now we could do write a meaningful sentence, which you'll see in your packet a lot. If Michigan was proportional to Ohio, they would have raised $4,125 more than what they actually did. So Ohio outperformed Michigan because if Michigan was like Ohio, they would have done more. Okay. All right, questions on proportions. Go Buckeyes, very good. You just earned yourself some brownie points there. Yeah. Any other questions about ratios? Well, shoot, we're going to be done super early today. How is that even possible? It does help that you guys are talking and not just typing everything. That makes it go a little bit quicker. Okay, if you don't have any other questions about proportions right now, I do want to talk about exams a little bit. You have 3 exams in this class. The first one is due June 22nd, which is 17 days from today. and we're just starting this business. So I need to get those papers into. The way the exams work is you have basically any time you want up until the 22nd of June at 5 p.m. So once you get through the first 9 sections and you take the review quiz, you can take your exam whenever that might be. Okay, so that's kind of a key, is that you take it when you're ready. It just has to be done by June 22nd. So if you are taking it at an Ivy Tech location, I do not need to hear from you. So it can be Warsaw campus, Fort Wayne, Indianapolis, Terre Haute, Evansville. I don't care, because you schedule with an Ivy Tech location. I submit my paperwork to one location and it goes statewide. So you can take it anywhere you want. If you are not taking your 3 exams at an Ivy Tech location, we have to have a conversation like today or tomorrow, because I have to verify your proctor. I have to get them information, and that takes time. And we don't want to wait until the week of, because if something falls through, especially because the week that you're taking your exam, I'm going to be in Texas. So that's really going to be important that we have things taken care of before I leave for Texas. Yes. Brianna, which one is it? But yes, if you are living in Arizona, we are going to need to have a conversation. Yeah, which is fine. We'll be able to take it. And you're in Ohio. Great. Yeah, so email me with ideas. Do you live next to a college that you can take a test at? Is there a library that has a proctoring center? It cannot be a family member. That does not work. You can take it at home through ProctorU. It's a online testing service. You have to have a camera. That will cost you between $20 and $25 per exam. So that's an additional expense, which really sucks. But if you don't have any way to take it, that is an option. So yeah, if you can't take it at an Ivy Tech location, so Bree in Jamaica, just shoot me an email and we'll kind of figure that out. We'll go from there. I will be posting a short video, I think it's like a minute long, of how to schedule an online exam through Ivy Learn. So if you are taking it at an Ivy Tech location, you can watch that video in a minute, figure out how to schedule your exam, and you do your own scheduling. You pick where, you pick when. And I'm not very nice when it comes to, oh, I need an extension because I tried to schedule it on Friday the 22nd and it's due on Friday. Yep, that's not okay with me. It's going to take at least 24 hours for your appointment to set. So you need to ask for an appointment at least 24 hours before you want to take your exam. I recommend doing it well ahead of time. Schedule it today. If you need to move it, you can always change it, but it's going to be important. Okay, so that is crucial that we kind of get that stuff kind of knocked out here in the next couple of days, because that's important. Super, super important. Okay.
Will we be allowed notes or a calculator on the exam?
You are allowed a calculator, yes, of any type. That is anything any calculator you want to bring in. No cell phones, no notes. When it comes to the second and third exam, you will be provided a a formula sheet. And we will talk about that formula sheet when we get to those sections. But the first exam, all you can use is a calculator. Yeah. When you get in there, you will be given scrap paper to show your work on. You turn in your scrap paper to the proctoring site. They email it to me, and then I can give you partial credit as I go through and I grade your exams. Don't freak out. I need to tell you this every time I talk to you from here on out. When you take your first exam, you're going to finish, and the grade it's going to show you is going to be horrible. I'm talking like 30%. And you're going to go, but I knew what I was doing. Yeah, don't freak out. There's like 20 points that I have to go in and hand grade. So they're automatically counted as 0 because they're not graded yet. And there are other problems that have issues. So every semester I have people who get like a 40% when they're finished, and they end up with like a 98 after everything gets graded. So I go in and I hand grade every question of the exams after you're done. So don't freak out. Just do your best, use your scrap paper, turn it in, and it'll all work out. Okay. Oh, I almost forgot something. Thank you for reminding me myself. All right, so back to back to this. Okay, so you guys are all in the course, right? In Ivy Learn, and this is where all the good stuff is, right? I will post the announcement for the video thing in the announcements. But one thing is that you all should have gotten an invite to the outcomes org, right? If you haven't accepted that yet, please do so. Okay, so you all should get invited to this. And this basically has 3 reviews in it. They are quizzes. They count as quiz grades in our course, but they're reviews for the exam. And I'm telling you, people, this is like the best thing that could have ever happened to the online class. So this test, and you can take it as many times as you want. The highest grade is kept, and it's basically built off of the online exam. So this has 20 questions, and you go through and you just, answer them, and it will grade it for you. And you have, you can do this as many times as you want, just as many times as you want. Has anybody received the invite to this course yet? Okay. I got the email that said that students were being added. So patience, it's going to come soon, probably later this week. But make sure you accept it. So when you get an email, or it's going to show up at the top of the course, it'll show up and say, like, you have an invite, accept it. Say yes, and then that will allow you to get in there and take those quizzes. Those quizzes are built in. Nope, that's not where I wanted to be. The links to that are built into the course. So I believe it's module 5. Yep. You see the review quiz exam 1. If you go through here, this will take you, there's the link right here in blue. It'll take you to that other course, okay, where you need to go. And again, you can take it as many times as you want. Your highest grade is recorded for your actual grade. And if you have questions on that, you email me for those too. Okay, so I'll have to double check because I got the email that said students were being loaded. So it must just be taking longer than they expected. So, okay, so Brianna, you asked, if you take your test using ProctorU, how do you turn in your scrap paper? And yeah, you are right. You would just email it to me. So you can take pictures with your smartphone and send them through pictures. If you have a scanner, you can scan them in. Anything like that. I mean, if you really want to be slow, you can put them in snail mail and mail them to me, but that's just going to take too long. But yeah, you just shoot them in an email. It's perfect. Yep. All right. And of course, I think I talked about the review quizzes in one of the videos, but the fact that you guys aren't in yet probably was a little meaningless. Yeah. Okay, it's super early. It's only 1:42, but I've worked through everything on my list for today. So do you guys have any other questions at this time? Good, good. So that's how some weeks we will talk for 2 hours and I will not get through nearly everything. And some weeks we may finish early based off what's going on. We will start every week with questions from you. So, if you have them, bring them. Again, feel free to email the questions as you have them because that, we'll get them knocked out. Go from there. Jacob, these sessions will be uploaded into the announcements. So as soon as we're done, I convert the recording into a YouTube video and then I post it in the announcements. So when in doubt, anything that's not preloaded goes into the announcements. I don't ever build anything into the modules after the class starts. So we go directly into the announcements from here. Yeah. So that's kind of your go-to. If you're looking for something, we're going to start next week. We get into some Excel assignments. And I do have help videos for all of those Excel assignments. I don't think I built them into the modules, did I? No, I did not. I did not build the Excel help videos into the web. So I will be putting Excel help videos in the announcements as well. So like next week is modules 3 and 4. So you can see we have an Excel pie charts, building pie charts in Excel. And then we have a descriptive statistics Excel. So I will be posting 2 videos. So I always say Excel is not going to be the reason you fail this class, right? If you fail this class, it's because you straight up just don't do the work. I will give you every resource you need or could ever want to help you pass this class. So I will be posting, I don't know when I'll do it, but I will post and it'll say, Excel help videos, pie charts, and descriptive stats. It'll be in the announcement header, and they're just help videos. If you want them, great. If you don't, you don't. And that's fine too. So, and we get into project 1 next week as well. I will post help videos on that too. So, and again, if you don't have a video for something and you think it'd be helpful, you just got to shoot me an email. Okay. Yep, Jamaica, I will send you an email as soon as we're done. Any other questions from anybody about anything? All right, we'll go ahead and call it a day for today. I'll get this done. I will stick around for a few minutes if anybody has any, individual questions about WebWork or anything else. I'll stick around, that way you can ask if you'd like to. But I think we're pretty much done with what we needed to do. So watch the videos and yeah, keep working hard. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks for coming and working. Appreciate it.